What if everything you've been told and sold about digital marketing is actually hurting your business? Today, I'm sitting down with someone who challenged my thinking years ago, and it changed the way I see the online world forever. You see, Bill Troy was the first person I ever heard point out that the emperor has no clothes when it comes to digital marketing. He pointed out that much of what we think works today in online marketing, it's a trap. It's a casino-like system designed to keep us playing, not winning. Bill's the author of Clicksand, How Online Marketing Will Destroy Your Business, and the unlikely secret to saving it. And in today's conversation, we're diving into the hidden dangers of digital marketing, the psychological hooks that keep us spending more money, keep us playing the game, even when we're not getting results. And most importantly, he's going to share what actually works. If you've ever felt like marketing is all activity and no progress, well, you're wondering why your online efforts aren't translating into real customers, you need to hear this conversation. Let's jump in. I've often said the best gift you can ever give someone is to introduce them to a new person and a new idea. And Bill Troy, 7 years ago, introduced me to the idea. He was the first one I heard say the emperor has no clothes, right? Maybe all this digital marketing isn't helping. Maybe it's hurting. And when I read his book, Clicksand, How Online Marketing Will Destroy Your Business and the Unlikely Secrets to Saving It, I read it and then I read it again, and I never looked at the world again, the same way again. Bill, welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'd love to see you again, Tom.
Can you give me a little bit of backstory? Like for someone that hasn't read this book, what was your premise on this? What did you see before everyone else saw?
Well, back in those days, we had a marketing firm and we were focused early on in the digital marketing space. And for me, it was one moment. We had a potential customer come to us. It was a husband and wife who had been sold a package where they could build an online website and drop ship products from China. And all they had to do was just sell the products right through their website, no inventory to carry. It was an easy thing to do in their retirement. And they came to us and they said, can you help us get more volume and more traffic? And we analyzed their business and we said, you're losing money pretty much on every transaction by the time you put all the effort in and the energy in to spend it. And this doesn't make sense from a business model standpoint. And what really hit me was they couldn't accept that. They were so much a believer. This is online. It has to work. It's really simple. And they'd been sold a package that this is simple and easy and just click and you make money. And I realized that it wasn't just numbers for them. It wasn't just math. It was their life and their livelihood. And it was emotional and difficult. And so I realized people don't realize that some of these tools don't work just because, it's all shiny and new. And so that's when I really started to investigate this idea. Is online marketing, is digital marketing, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And what harm could it be causing? And I really realized, wow, in some ways, it's almost snake oil in some cases. So that was the origination for the book.
Well, and also it was like the gambling you talked about in there. And
Yeah,
I think of that so many times. When you were saying that, losing money on every transaction. It's that old Saturday Night Live skit where the guy has the change store, right? If you got $1, we'll give you 10 dimes and all the rest of this. And they finally asked, well, how do you make money on this? And it was like volume. And it's almost like that, GM had the same joke, right? We're losing money on every car, but we're making it up on volume. And there's so many of these where it's like that activity, right? I want more leads, but the leads are costing you money. I've got lots of Facebook likes. Those are up 50%, but I'm still not profitable, right? So all of those things where it's like the bells and whistles that make us want to do more, even though if we stepped back and it's like, this is not profitable.
Well, and there's an emotional component to it. You get hooked into it. And it's designed to hook you into it. I mean, probably the best analogy would be a casino, right? You're not going to win. I mean, you just intellectually know you don't win at a casino, right? But everyone in there thinks they're winning. I mean, so Like they've designed it so that there's excitement and interest and random things that happen. But in the long run, you're slowly losing money to them. That's how they built the giant casino. And they know what those tricks are, the lights and the sounds and all those sorts of things to keep it exciting and keep you feeling like, okay, this is going to happen. And in some ways, the digital marketing folks know the same thing. Let's gamify it. You're close. You get to the next level. You got all the stats. Gosh, in the book, I think we went through a whole analysis of all the things that are in tools like Google Analytics, right? All those tools are there to give you a game to play. And like the casino, like I got my system and I'm going to make it work. And in the end, I don't know if it works. A lot of times it just doesn't work, but it's fun. And that's what people get hooked on.
And it's interesting that they show you the numbers that make you feel good, right? My traffics are up, my clicks are up. They'll never go through, well, what does that mean for sales or what's that mean for profit?
Did you make money? Yeah.
They won't show you, cost of lead acquisition or cost of customer acquisition, those things, because those don't make you feel good.
Well, and you start to believe that it's you. I'm just not good enough at this yet. Because obviously it looks like it totally makes sense. It's all plausible. The other one, speaking of the casino I have talked about, is that you go up to the roulette table and they show you all the numbers that have come up in the last, 20 rolls on the board. And you see 5 reds in a row. You're like, it's got to be green. It's got to be black next time, right? Totally got to be black. Your brain does that. Of course, it doesn't have to be black next time, but they know if you see that on the board, you're likely to bet. And so they give you that information at the roulette table that has nothing to do with the game. It just has to do with getting your brain interested in putting money on the board. And so a lot of those stats in the online analytics are the same sort of thing. Oh, it's gotta be it. We're getting traffic from Russia. That's where we, or whatever, right? You see all these crazy stats in there and you start to feel like it's a game. I've just got to figure it out.
Well, the good news in the casino is that the odds aren't going down every time you walk in there. Right. Whereas online, right. It's like I used to call it my previous company. I called it my pay-per-click addiction. That's how I was getting traffic for a while. Right. So if I put $1 in, I'd get, $1.20 back. Right. So if I want to make more money, all I've got to do is put more money in. So all of a sudden the $10 a day habit turned into a $20 a day habit. But you know what? With time, everything becomes more competitive. So now I wasn't getting 10 cents back. I was getting 7 cents back. And you could all of a sudden see, to even continue the business, I'm going to have to put more money into it. And we've talked with clients before that have extrapolated that off. And they're like, I've got to find a new marketing channel because I know this one will not be profitable in 6 months. And it's going to take me a while to ramp up another channel.
Yeah, that's another really interesting thing because you're right. It doesn't stay the same. The odds on roulette never change. But in this case, other people come in and start changing, how much it costs to get the keyword. And that makes it even worse.
Yeah. And one of the things that you said, I can't remember what part you said. I think you said big fish don't swim through funnels in the book. Please expand on that a little bit.
Well, you end up getting down to the smallest things. And typically, when you're working in any sort of online marketing, you're driving towards something that's very transactional. You can't have a deep, long conversation with someone. You're not going to work on a sale that's going to take 3 years to close, via email or via chatbot. So you end up sort of getting driven down to smaller and smaller transactions that can happen with less information and less interaction. And so it forces you to focus on minnows, right? And then you start focusing on volume of minnows. We're going to get all the minnows and then you never get to whales. There's no way to get whales through that system where it's filtering and filtering and filtering and filtering. They just don't enter that. So you never can move up in terms of customer size and complexity.
And I think one of the things I got from it, I always think of it as you said, big fish don't swim through funnels. And then in my mind, I thought I added onto it, whales don't click. Right? From the standpoint of what works for selling a $2 widget, all of a sudden people are like, oh, you can use this for big ticket sales. Why? It doesn't necessarily scale that way. And I always point out, if it did, Boeing and Airbus would be selling airplanes off of Facebook ads and webinars, and Bain Capital and Ernst & Young, they would be doing the same thing. It's like, wow, why don't you see them there? I guarantee you it's because they know something, they know what works, and they're all focused on relationships and the conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they're not even showing up, not even swimming past your, little sign on the ad. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one too is like remember talking with somebody and they were selling to professional services to the C-level. And I'm like, you really think that the C-level executive is going to see your Facebook ad and then click on that, then pull out their credit card to buy your $7 tripwire product, and then be nurtured for 6 months, and then they're going to go to the big ticket sale, right? They probably don't even have the credit card on them, right? Their assistant is doing that, and all you're doing is putting so much friction into that, right? If they want to talk to the wizard, let them talk to the wizard.
Yeah, it's just, but it looks attractive. It looks seductive. You can get started, easily. One of the funny anecdotes that I've said over the years, I haven't interacted with Google AdWords in a long time, but at least a few years ago when I last checked it, you put in your credit card, right, to start your free, simple Google AdWords account for $30 or whatever. You'll get a call from an expert to help you. So even they know that to move you up the food chain to become a bigger customer, they immediately have to start a human interaction with you. Even Google won't sell you Google services just through Google services. They're going to get a person to talk to you. So even the people that sell it know it takes human interaction to deepen a relationship.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the casino model is so interesting because I think we've all gotten the emails that said, hey, here's $100 free for Google ads, right? It's almost like come to the casino and we'll give you $100 worth of chips, right? They just want you to start playing the game. And it's like, are we there to win the game or to play the game? Because that's the other thing that your book really pointed out to me is what are we optimizing for, right? And so many people are saying, I can get you more leads. Well, I'm not optimizing for leads, right? If I want more leads, give away a Tesla. Everybody will sign up for it. Well, maybe everybody will sign up for it. But, it's like, no, I'm optimizing for profits. And those are two different things.
Absolutely. And I think, too, that a lot of times, this is, again, just, maybe not a fair analogy, but it's almost like you're alone and your business owner, you're alone in the dark on Saturday night trying to figure out what am I going to do? And this is like a shiny, easy from your armchair click to make this happen. And so they're almost sort of selling you and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. You start to feel like I'm taking action. So I'm doing things, but action and activity don't mean progress. So you end up doing lots of activity in the system, but are you really making progress? And like you say, progress is your business is growing.
Yeah. It was Gail Moody Bird. She's now actually works at LinkedIn, one of their CMOs, and she was the one that made the observation that we're getting more efficient at things that are less effective, right? In the time we've been talking, both of us could have sent 1 million emails, right? Because we bought the list. Very, very easy, very efficient. We feel like we're doing something, but they're not going to be effective.
There's another thing to think about that too, is that you don't see, when you have a conversation where you and I are speaking and I say something that you don't like, I see it on your face, right? We have an interaction. When you're firing messages out there to people you don't see, you have no idea what their response is. That's one of the things that is hidden from you. You send out something that people are like, oh, these guys, stop sending me this. You don't see that. So you can actually be harming the relationship because you don't get any feedback from them. And so that's part of why it becomes less and less effective, is that none of us like to receive it. Why do we think someone wants to receive it from us, right? But you don't get that feedback you get from an interaction with another person. You don't go, oh, that didn't work. We're going to change that. It's just, maybe you look at the clicks or whatever, but you don't look at how they really view your company. And
that's interesting from the standpoint of that spammy email to a cold person, right? Because you bought the list. If you had to do that same thing to every person at a conference, right? Would you do that? It's like, no, I know the harm that would cause.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even do it if I was going to see them at the conference before the conference, right? I'd be like, I don't even want to see that person. If I did, they're like, I hope I don't run into them, right? I mean, it's like, Oh gosh, of course that makes sense. But when it looks, you got the analytics board and you're going to get your click rate and like it looks great, but you don't see the actual human thing on the other end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, are you proud of your marketing? All right.
Yes. There you
So
go.
we talked about how it'll destroy your business. Let's talk about the flip side there and the secret to saving it. Because when you came out, you were the first one that I saw said the emperor has no clothes. This is not a good thing. What do we do about that?
Well, I think the first thing is if you want to look at technology, technology has the ability to make you more effective if you're using it that way. Let's say you have a person you want to deepen a relationship with. Well, technology can help you remember, I was going to say remember their birthday, but don't remember their birthday with an automated message. But technology can help you remember more brain capacity, more things about them, remind you to reach back out to them at a certain amount of time. And even we got involved in the marketing business at one point too about even measuring what was the term we called it? It was depth of interaction. Something like you send an email to someone. What do they send back? First of all, do they send anything back? If they send something back that is as deep and personal as what you sent, you're building a relationship with them, right? So you can also even look, and you can probably use tools now with AI. I haven't looked at it in a while, but you could probably even use AI to analyze the interactions you're having with someone. Is it deepening, right? Or are they sharing things with you? Are you sharing things with them? Are you having conversations beyond just the simple transaction, click on this to buy? So if you start to look at what you're trying to accomplish, deepening relationships with potential customers that are bigger or whatever you're going after, then say, now how does the tool help me with that? Versus starting with the tool seller going, hey, send 1 million. Like, oh, so you can use technology to go deeper in addition or instead of going more shallow, inch wide, mile deep instead of the other way around.
So from that standpoint, I'm just thinking of emails, right? I'm not focusing on open rates. I'm not maybe I'm focusing on replies, but also looking at it and being smart and saying the best time to send an email is between Christmas and New Year's because that's when I get the biggest reply rate. No, those are out of office replies,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Good point.
But with that, the data could be lying to you, and you could be really doing harm. Do people really want to get that email from me on Christmas morning?
Oh gosh, no. But if you start with where you're going, where you want to end up, and then work backwards, I think it can work. It's just instead of starting at the beginning, online tools and technology and computers, they're just tools. I mean, think of paper, right? You can use paper in a bad way in your marketing, and you can use paper in a good way. So it's not the paper that's the problem. It's just how you're using the tool, whether it's paper or telephone or email or anything like that. And just make sure you know what you're trying to accomplish and that you're measuring you're going there.
And in ClickSand, you were talking about the state of the art marketing tools at that time, right? But what you're talking about, as you're saying it now, it's like we could apply the same thing to social media. We could apply the same thing to AI. Just because I can doesn't mean I should, right? I think of there's a company out there that says their whole tagline is pitch 1,000 podcasts in the time that it would take you to pitch one. And it's like, why don't you just introduce yourself to one, make it meaningful instead of robo pitching? So how do you see this applying to social media today, say?
Well, I mean, I think, social media today. Social media is on such an interesting curve because I feel like in some ways is it declining? Is it kind of running past its, useful life for people? I think we're trying to find it. We know it doesn't, as individuals, lead to mental health, and we don't really get connected to people. So from that standpoint, I think it's a difficult tool. I think it just ends up to be, from a business standpoint, one small thing in the array of things you do. I mean, you probably have your logo up on the wall in your lobby. You probably have your, you have a website, you have, business cards you hand out. You have a lot of things you do in marketing, but I don't think social media is any better or worse than any of those things, depending on what you're trying to do with somebody. So if it's the right tool, I mean, certainly if you're wanting to demonstrate things, getting influencers, that sort of thing, it can work. But if you're just trying to build a one-on-one relationship with someone, well, you're really stuck in a paradigm there that is driving you almost away from a deeper relationship.
And I think of your analogy, right, of what are you optimizing for? The quicksand model there, it's like, don't think you're winning just because you've got a lot of followers on TikTok, right? Are they turning into clients? Where does that go from there? And it's interesting. There's a lot of things that we could do, but stepping back and it's like, does this help? Are we are we optimizing for the bells and whistles and the lights at the casino, or are we measuring the real results of those?
I think also too, and who's telling you what's good and bad? I'll give you an example. My wife works as a fractional COO and CHRO for companies, and she spends a lot of time helping them recruit. And that's a tough thing these days, recruiting people for your team. And everyone she starts working with on that issue is using Indeed or something like Indeed, right? And so there's almost a click-send thing happening in the world of recruiting, because Indeed will give you statistics about how many people have applied, and then they will say, okay, you need to increase your budget to get more people to apply for your position. Why do you need more people to apply for your position? How does that help you? You want the one person you're trying to hire, right? Indeed wants more people to apply for your position because they get paid for everyone who applies for your position. So they give you the scoreboard and the scorecard and the goal of getting more applicants for themselves. And so that's an example of where who's deciding what wins and loses here. You've got to step back and go, we just need one good person. If this tool isn't going to get that for us, even though it's all shiny and fun, that's not what's right for us. So those kinds of things you have to be really careful about. Who's even telling you what's good and bad and what to do more of? They are self-serving.
That's interesting, as you said that. And it's like the difference between a transaction and a relationship. Greg Alexander, who wrote the book, The Boutique, he works with a lot of professional services businesses. And I love how he says that products are sold, but services are bought, right? So it's like, it's more about trust than it is just about attention. And it's like, if it's the idea of, you probably get the emails the same way, we can get you, 20 sales calls next month. Oh, shoot, I've 20 sales calls. Now I got to hire another sales rep or a sales development rep and all the rest of that. That's a cost, right? And I only need whatever it is, 2 or 3 clients, right? How about if I stop having the sales funnel and doing the sales cylinder, right? Let's have 4 conversations to get to 3 clients.
Right. Yeah, it's just starting with what you're really trying to accomplish.
It's just about the time that I think, all right, people are learning this. I'm learning it. Then I see something else that comes out with the shiny aspect. And as you explained with Clicksand, you talked about snake oil, right? And this has been around forever, and we're all susceptible to it.
Well, there's a psychology to selling snake oil, right? It has to be unique and different. It has to have a plausible story. Like literally the original snake oil was, he was slicing up a snake at the state fair and, putting it into oil and boiling it. It's like, wow, okay. I guess that could help my arthritis, so no proof, just plausible story. And then well, take a risk on it. So give it a try. So there is actually a recipe to selling snake oil.
As marketers get better, we figure out better ways to sell the snake oil. And I would say, it's I can't remember who said it, was marketers mess up everything from the standpoint of, phone calls were great. And then they turned to robocalls. When we first got emails, it was, you've got mail. And we were so excited. And then they turned it into spam.
Definitely. Well, especially when you start trying to go to volume, right? Efficiency versus effectiveness, like you said.
Yeah. So where you are now, you're, 7 years, 8 years probably from writing the book. Where do you think the world has changed? Are people learning this, and where's it going? I think you've got some unique perspectives on how people have started to look at your message, right? Originally, you were the canary in the coal mine, and now I'm hearing more people, when you talk about this idea 7 years later, they're like, oh, of course, that's common sense.
Right. I think on the social media digital marketing front, I think people were like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I get that, or I already believe it. Where I've evolved with our company is more into inside the workplace now. We went through COVID, everyone went home, and more digital tools are happening, in the workspace, in the workplace. And so a lot of the training and consulting work that I do these days is around with companies inside the firm, trying to help them stay connected in relationships. How do you, because they're all sort of working digitally and they got their Slack and they've got their, their Trello boards or whatever. And it's like, do we have coffee together? So I think there's a whole disconnect that happens even now inside businesses, not just businesses with their customers, and just trying to get people. We have a whole workshop we do for clients, for example, on how do you stay together as a team when you disagree on things like politics or whatever. How do we even stay together as a group? We've lost those skills, and we're just so used to firing things off all the time. It's like, oh, we have to agree to disagree and then still work together on this project. So how do we even do that? So that's kind of where we've gone to now, is almost inside companies.
Is that, as you said that, I'm thinking it's like we were so focused on efficiency, right? We've got Slack, we've got all these different tools, we've got Trello boards, very efficient, but it doesn't mean that we're effective.
Especially interacting together as a team. So we're working on our work, but we're all siloed. We're at home and we're working on through digital tools, and maybe there's a Zoom call, but there's just no culture that develops anymore. And so the tools are isolating us.
Yeah, it's interesting. The tools can amplify us, but then when they start to replace us, it's that idea. Is it really a human? Is this really the person that I'm going to be working with? And I think that's one of the things why conversations are so powerful, because while there's, AI video and stuff, by and large, you can tell when two people are having a conversation because it's the ums, the uhs, incomplete sentences, that says this is real. This is true, not just a rehash of everything else.
Well, and I think too, when you're a team, you have to trust each other. And so I'm sure there are some advanced tools doing this already, but you could easily see the scenario where instead of me taking the email you sent me, putting it into ChatGPT to rewrite it and send it back to you, it just automatically does it, right? So the email comes into my inbox and the AI in my email just automatically replies to you and your AI replies to me. We'll end up in a point really soon here where we just have AI going back and forth, talking to each other as each other, and we won't even be emailing each other anymore. So what will that do to the effectiveness of the team? It'll be more efficient, right? What will that do to the effectiveness of the team to deal with challenges that come up, or even, coordinate on things? So that's where we're going next with this, efficiency tools.
And you can even say the same thing in podcasting now, because what Notebook LM, right, can do a AI generated podcast, right? So we could drop in the book Clicksand and say, give us a 30-minute podcast talking about this. But you know what? It's not going to be the same. It's not the same insights from the author. It's not the same level of curiosity there. And I think right now, I think people can pick up on it, that lack of authenticity. And the other thing too is that I think of we were trying to hire somebody a few quarters ago, and the team said, no, throw this one out, that one out. I'm like, why? And they said, it's too perfect, right? That was written by ChatGPT. Nobody knows how to use a semicolon, or at least not if they're, an English major.
That's the tip off.
I'm like, that is so true. We want to work with humans, and we want to make the decisions, especially when it's a relationship-based sale, in professional services, in big ticket items, with those whales and the big fish.
Well, so one quick thing on the AI again, for an example. So let's say in the next year, within the company, all the employees their AI is talking to each other, right? So they're not actually doing the emails to each other. That's all happening through AI. What will the employee do at that point? What will they do as a company? Will they all be able to go sit in the coffee room and have coffee together and talk about themselves as people and get to know each other while their AIs are handling all the tactical work? Or will they disappear and go away and never talk to each other again? The difference there is whether it becomes ClickSand, right? Where you just go into this hole of efficiency and there's no culture and there's no interactions, or whether it becomes a tool that leverages relationships and we get closer as a company because we don't have to spend our time doing email. But what else are we going to do with that time?
It's a lot of problems in the world, but there's no better time to be alive. And I just wanted to thank you. You were the first person that said the emperor has no clothes here. And anybody that has ever heard me has heard me say the phrase, big fish don't swim through funnels and whales don't click. And then they'll hear me refer to ClickSand by Bill Troy. So, Bill, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best place?
So, BillTroy.com. We'll take you to ClickSand and you can connect with me there.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Absolutely.
That was an eye-opening conversation with Bill Troy. If today's episode made you rethink your approach to marketing, that's a good thing. Because as Bill pointed out, we've been sold on the idea that more clicks, more leads, and more automation will grow our business. But the truth is, big fish don't swim through funnels and whales don't click. Instead of getting lost in the noise of digital marketing, focus on relationships. The best clients aren't looking for the flashiest ads or the biggest email list. They're looking for trust, credibility, and connection. And that's exactly what podcast interviews provide. A way to have meaningful conversations with the right people. Because in reality, you're not one funnel away. You're one conversation away. So here's your action step. Look at your marketing today and ask yourself, am I playing the game or am I winning the game? Maybe the hard truth is that you are being played. If you want to win in business, start building relationships, not just collecting clicks and leads. If you want to connect with Bill, I highly suggest check out BillTroy.com. Thanks for listening, and as always, keep having real conversations. That's what drives results. That's what grows brands and businesses. See you next time.